Thank you. I'm Dr. Daniel Lehman, and I am thrilled to introduce you to my wife, Tana. She has a new program that is radically changing the lives of our patients and their families, and we want you to join us.
The Omni diet is helping to reverse illness, decrease the number of medications our patients take, and produce remarkable weight loss at any age.
And Tana makes it so simple. I often say, doctors tell you what to do, nurses tell you how to do it. And they hold your hand in the process. Tana is a neurosurgical ICU nurse, and over the last 5 years, she has written 5 books, including 3 cookbooks. Plus, she has helped me completely transform my own body, which was no small task.
Thank you, sweetheart. I call the Omni Health Revolution a bipartisan plan because it bridges the gap between strict vegetarian diets and extreme high-protein diets. It teaches you how to eat as the omnivore you are, plants plus protein to keep you healthy. As an ICU nurse, I know a lot of uncomfortable ways to keep people alive for a long time. And I saw these ways tear families apart. I want nothing to do with that for my family or yours. Lifespan is not the same as health span. Here's the difference. Health span is how long you live in a healthy state, living with passion, looking and feeling your best. And the thing is, most of us don't have to eat an extreme diet to enjoy a long, healthy life. Don't the extreme diets make you just a little bit crazy?
I got sick on an exclusively high-protein diet. My skin turned gray.
And my triglycerides went through the roof on a vegan diet. Plus, put vegans and meat eaters in a room together, and there will be a food fight. They argue more about food than politics or religion. Each of these extremes have benefits, but the truth is, they can also cause problems. Your body doesn't care about your food philosophy. It needs what it needs. You are an omnivore.
Your body needs more than one thing. It needs both plant-based foods and high-quality proteins. Plants provide an abundance of fiber and disease-fighting nutrients. Meat provides some essential vitamins like B12, carnosine for your brain, and fatty acids you cannot get from plants. They are called essential because your body cannot make them. This is important. We were meant to eat both plants and meat. The real question is, what's the right balance?
A high-protein diet speeds up weight loss, but you can only process so much meat before it begins to damage your body. A plant-based diet is the key to preventing and reversing chronic illness, like diabetes and heart disease. By eating the perfect omnivore balance, vegetables and high-quality proteins, 70-30, you can get the best of both worlds without feeling deprived. That is why the Omni diet is based on 70% plant-based foods and 30% high-quality protein.
Our experience is that if you follow the Omni diet, it will quickly give you better energy, memory, and mood.
This message is really important to me because it's personal. This is my grandmother. She lived with us when I was growing up, and she was very sick. Grandma was depressed, she had diabetes and heart disease. And because my mother worked several jobs, at the age of 11, I had to give my grandmother her insulin shots. I was scared to death. The nurse actually told me if I didn't do it right, I could kill her.
Wow, what a burden for a child.
And as a child, I was also sick a lot. I spent many hours undergoing medical procedures for abdominal pain, including upper and lower GIs. I also had mono, and my immune system was a mess. Then at the age of 23, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, which metastasized into my lymph nodes. And even though I was treated, it came back 3 times.
Which is very unusual.
I also had my gallbladder removed. I felt like my body was betraying me. And I got very depressed. I was a wreck.
But a very cute one.
The doctors told me that I had bad genetic luck and had to accept taking multiple medications. But over time, I was taking medications to handle the side effects of medications.
That seems a bit nuts.
Yeah, it does now. But when I complained about all the medication and said there had to be a better way, one of my doctors actually told me that I was in denial and should see a psychiatrist.
So how did that work out for you? Now tell everyone that is not how we met.
No, it's not. But being sick really motivated me to get well. Together with my nursing experience and training in health and nutrition, I've spent the last 10 years healing myself and helping patients at the clinic. I realize I was raised in a culture of illness, but now I'm determined to leave a legacy of health. My mission is to help you realize that your history is not your destiny. By eating the proper 70-30 balance, you can reverse illness and reclaim your health.
Not only does the Omni diet work for our family and our patients, Tana and I helped to develop a very similar program for Saddleback Church, one of the largest churches in America, where over 15,000 participants lost over £250,000 pounds the first year.
It was amazing, but weight loss was only the stunning side effect. The focus was on health. People got off many of their medications and had incredible improvements in their energy, appearance, and even their sex lives.
Love that.
Of course you do. The Omni diet starts with 3 two-week phases. It just takes 2 weeks to see the changes. Some of our patients have lost up to 14 pounds in the first 2 weeks.
In phase 1, you'll learn how to use food as medicine to actually begin to reverse illness, including knowing which foods to choose and which ones to lose.
In phase 2, you'll learn the simplest and most effective ways to exercise. Forget killing yourself. In fact, over-exercising can hurt you. You will also get more practical tips on planting the Omni diet into your life, including how to do it on a budget and even when you travel.
And in phase 3, you are going to learn how to mimic calorie restriction. That's right. You can get the benefits of calorie restriction without eating less. The Omni diet is not about deprivation, but always about an abundance of the right things that taste amazing.
The Omni diet is based on the science of nutrigenomics. I know, it's a big word, but it's very simple. Nutrigenomics tells us that the foods you eat talk directly to your genes. You have the choice to eat in a way that turns genes on that keep you healthy or make you sick. I used to think that my genes were like an evil monarchy that condemned me to be sick.
But it's just not true. You have a lot more control over your genes than doctors ever thought possible.
Think of nutrigenomics as designer genes. By eating the right foods and avoiding the wrong ones, you can actually begin to design your health. The first 2-week phase of the Omni diet is learning to use food as medicine. That's right. You can use food to reverse illness. Here you learn which foods to choose and which foods to lose. This is where many people get huge health benefits from the Omni diet. And since I'm all about replace, don't erase, this is not another restrictive program.
You have a great personal example of phase 1.
This is my younger sister Tamra, who was never interested in taking advice from me. But one day, 3 years ago, at the age of 32, she called crying. Her doctor had just given her prescriptions for 3 medications for depression, high cholesterol, and hypertension. Her lab work was very concerning. She had a dangerously low vitamin D level, high cholesterol, and high C-reactive protein, which is a measure of inflammation. And her blood pressure was elevated. Her doctor told her that she was at high risk for heart disease and she would need to be on these medications for the rest of her life.
I remember telling you that sometimes people have to hit rock bottom before they want to change.
Talk about rock bottom. Tamara also spent 3 to 5 hours a day in the bathroom with painful diarrhea. All of her joints ached and her hands were so swollen that the skin on her knuckles would crack and bleed.
You told me that she had no energy to play with her kids or to be intimate with her husband.
In addition, she hadn't slept well in years and often woke up in the middle of the night with terrible cravings for sugar. If she couldn't find anything sweet, she would eat her kids' sweet-tasting vitamins.
You know, I just wonder about the combination of sugar and vitamins. Does it make anybody else just a little nuts?
At 5'4", she weighed 211 pounds, and the doctor said nothing to Tamara about changing her diet or lifestyle.
How crazy is that?
Tamara was afraid of medication and wanted to know if there were alternatives. This is true of so many of our patients. Plus, she shared my genes, and getting my food right made a dramatic difference for me.
Actually, she never started the medication.
I told her, I'm not telling you not to take your medication or that you won't need it. The Omni diet is not an anti-medication program. It is an optimal health program. Medications have saved many lives, including mine. I told Tamara, give me 2 weeks, then you can make the decision with your doctor.
Tamara didn't need to tell you what she was eating.
Her lab values told me everything. As I suspected, she was eating the standard American diet.
Isn't it ironic that acronym is SAD?
But so true. When I asked her how many servings of fruits and vegetables she was eating, she asked if French fries, fried zucchini, and blueberry muffins counted.
Many of us are very good at lying to ourselves.
I told her, I'm going to make this as simple as I can. Eat like a gorilla with a simple modification. I want you to eat massive amounts of vegetables, a little fruit, some nuts and seeds, and add extra protein. I told Tamara to get high-quality protein from wild fish, free-range natural meats, and eggs. Yes, it's true that gorillas don't eat meat. They get some of their protein from bugs, but gorillas have a longer digestive tract than humans and therefore don't need as much protein as humans need. I promised Tamara that I'd show her how to make the foods taste amazing, and I never wanted her to feel hungry. I told her to eat 5 or 6 times a day.
The Omni diet is about abundance, not deprivation. It takes you from processed, chemically laden food to whole, healthy food. But it's important to eat enough to never feel hungry.
Then I told Tamara about the foods to lose. I want you to eliminate sugar and foods that quickly turn to sugar. Think bread. Yes, that even includes wheat bread, rice, potatoes, pasta, and cereal. All grains, including oatmeal, and anything that contains gluten. Also eliminate dairy, soy, corn, alcohol, and coffee. This is just for 2 weeks, then we can reevaluate things.
I love what Tamara said next.
I'll never forget it. She said, but that's everything in my house. I'll starve. And besides, I heard that tequila is gluten-free.
How funny. Alcohol is not a health food. Plus, think of all the money she'll save.
I told her no alcohol for 2 weeks, including tequila.
But didn't she ask you if that was boring?
Everyone thinks that in the beginning, until they realize all the great foods they get to eat. I told her, just give me 2 weeks. If you don't like it, you can go back. I would think that being in chronic pain, lying on the couch all day, not playing with your children, and not having sex with your husband was boring. Realizing that 2 weeks was less time than most of her medications took to kick in, Tamara was ready to jump on board. And she did everything I told her to do. In fact, it was the first time in her life that my sister ever did anything I told her to do.
The Omni diet is not hard, and it works. We have a lot of experience with it, but you have to do it as it's laid out. No cutting corners.
After 2 days, her cravings vanished, and she was surprised to discover all the foods she loved, like the fresh green salads with turkey and a creamy slice of avocado to replace the cheese. And she loved her morning smoothies with almond milk or coconut milk instead of dairy.
For everything you give up, there are so many replacement foods that boost your health that also taste great, such as salsa for ketchup, hummus for mayonnaise, and lettuce wraps for bread.
2 days later, I got a call from Tamara. She was crying, but this time it was happy tears. She had her first normal bowel movement in years.
Many people are stunned by how quickly they feel better.
Tamara said, "I know it's crazy to be this happy about normal poop, but I've been living in such an exhausting, embarrassing nightmare for so long, I just can't tell you how amazing I feel."
But she hadn't seen anything yet.
A week later, she reported that the pain in her joints and hands had disappeared. Within 2 weeks, Tamara had lost 14 pounds. She told me she had so much energy, she had to go out and get a job.
The Omni diet is good for the economy.
Within 2 months, Tamara had lost 30 pounds, and all of her labs were completely normal.
The goal was never weight loss. The goal was to save Tamara's life. But the incredible side effect of this program is often dramatic weight loss.
Her self-esteem soared along with her energy. She told me, "I can suck in my stomach now. I can actually feel my muscles and see my toes." 12 months later, Tamara was down 60 pounds. Her pain was gone and her energy was up. Plus, her husband was much happier.
Love that part.
As she got well, her family got healthy. As a side note, Tamara, like many overweight people, had no good before pictures. She was so embarrassed by her looks that she avoided the camera like the plague. Now she's not so shy.
So let's review. The first phase of the Omni diet is to lose any foods that are potentially toxic for you. This includes sugar and artificial sweeteners, trans fats and fried fats, gluten found in wheat, barley, and rye, dairy, including milk, cheese, and yogurt, soy, and corn.
I wonder if you all know why farmers feed animals corn and soy?
To make them fat.
Quickly, popcorn is not a diet food. The nice marbling that ends up on the cow's backside is the same marbling that ends up on your backside when you eat a similar diet.
Eat like a cow. Look like a cow.
Seriously, Daniel?
I'm not trying to be mean. I want to be helpful and get this message across. When people see the foods to lose, many think there isn't anything left to eat. But here's the big secret. I learned that my food choices actually got better.
Such as wild fish, which you call brain food.
In a new study, my friend Cyrus Raji found that people who ate baked or grilled fish once a week actually had more gray matter in the front part of their brains responsible for things like judgment, forethought, and impulse control.
So think of the Omni diet as giving you 50 shades of gray matter. It also includes free-range, naturally raised meats and poultry. Grass-fed meat is higher in omega-3 fatty acids that help protect you from heart disease.
I'm still thinking about the 50 shades of gray matter. You also get to eat nuts and seeds, which are loaded with healthy fat. Fat is not the enemy. It doesn't make you fat. Sugar does. In a new study, people who had a healthy fat-based diet had 42% less risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. People who ate a primarily carbohydrate-based diet, think bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, and sugar have 4 times the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Is bread and sugar really more important than your mind?
Plus, Inuit tribes from Canada and Alaska ate diets of 50 to 75% fat from whale blubber and other tasty treats. And before being introduced to the typical Western diet, diabetes, hypertension, cancer, and heart disease were virtually non-existent. It's not the fat.
Let us show you a few examples of Omni meals. Tana has more than 300 of them she'll share with you. I start every day with one of Tana's smoothies. She has 15 different recipes. My favorite is chocolate-covered strawberry. It literally takes less than 5 minutes to make.
Also for breakfast is a tasty seafood omelet or Omni-style crepes.
One of my personal favorites, I love the grilled vegetable salad with wild salmon and grilled lamb chops, the best I've ever tasted.
For my daughter Chloe, I came up with guiltless chicken tenders made with almond meal, eggs, and chicken. Children love these. That includes my husband.
I also love her soups, including chicken lentil and sweet potato.
People also love the salmon chowder, cioppino, and spaghetti squash pasta.
Plus, there are Omni-approved desserts for those like me with a sweet tooth, including Omni protein bars that smell like cookies when they're coming out of the oven, and Omni apple cobbler and pumpkin bars. This program is rational and smart. You lose things that hurt you and choose foods that boost your health. There are no gimmicks, but when you get it, there are so many health benefits.
How many of you are willing to commit 2 weeks to change your life forever? I want you to be part of the revolution. It transformed my life, and it worked for my sister Tamara, our family, our patients, and it can work for you. Stay with us.
Welcome back. In the first segment, we introduced you to the Omni diet, the bipartisan plan that uses 70% plants plus 30% protein to boost your health.
In this segment, you'll learn the simplest, most effective ways to exercise and how to plant the Omni diet in your life on a budget. Believe me, this program does not have to be expensive. But before we start, I want to do a little exercise with you. I call it, which mystery food would you choose? In front of us are 3 covered plates that contain some common foods. Tell me which one you think would give you the best energy and health.
Always read food labels. Some of these foods have more than 30 ingredients, and many of them your grandmother would not even recognize as food. You need a chemistry degree to decipher them, so we've summarized them for you.
Undercover A is a chicken-based food. It contains sugar, 4 cheaper hydrogenated oils, added gluten, and a controversial preservative.
You know, I'm not sure food is the best place to put controversy.
Undercover B, I have a salmon-based food with 0 cheaper hydrogenated oils, 0 sugars, and 23 nutritional supplements, including digestive enzymes, probiotics, and omega-3 fatty acids.
We take those.
We do. And undercover C, I have another chicken-based food, which has 3 cheaper hydrogenated oils, 6 different sugars, added gluten, 8 preservatives, and a dough conditioner.
Ouch.
How many of you would choose the food undercover A? How many would choose the food undercover B?
Seems to make sense.
And what about undercover C? Okay. Plate A contains a very common food that we feed our kids and ourselves on the run. Breaded chicken nuggets, which contain a very controversial preservative, TBHQ, and dimethylpolysiloxane, which is an anti-foaming agent.
So they won't foam at the mouth.
Plate C contains a healthy, fat-free chicken wrap that has a dough conditioner, which has been associated with asthma and has been banned in most of Europe.
Whoa.
And the winner is plate B, what we feed our dog.
So you're telling me, in case of an emergency, we'd be better off eating dog food?
Yep, that's what I'm telling you. I know you all love your animals, but what about your family?
But the dog doesn't talk back.
I'm going to ask each of you to make one commitment today, to feed your family and yourself at least as well as you would feed your dog. Okay, let's talk about phase 2. Here you add smart exercise to build muscle that boosts your metabolism. Strong is the new thin. And we'll go deeper into the Omni Health revolution.
Plus, to clarify, we do not advocate cheat days where you eat anything you want. Think of a smoker, an alcoholic, or a sex addict. No physician would ever recommend cheat days that could trigger the addiction. Since many people are dealing with food addictions, it is important to be careful to avoid foods that can cause you to lose control. We know no one is perfect, including us. Tana often says, eat 70-30 for 90-10, which means 70% plant-based foods, 30% protein, and make great decisions at least 90% of the time, so you don't have to feel guilty if you have an occasional slip.
But avoid your worst trigger foods. I used to be a frosting addict. I couldn't take even a bite of cake, pastries, or donuts for many months because they would trigger major cravings. I knew that if I did, I would soon find myself hiding in a dark corner of a donut shop, licking frosting off of waxed paper. But now, after years of clean eating, I find most of those foods repulsive. On the rare occasion that I take a bite of cake, I have no desire for more. I've retrained my taste buds.
Also in phase 2, you can start to add back some of the foods you took out to see which you may be sensitive to. The big question we get is, what about coffee and alcohol? If you have a cup of coffee in the morning, try half cap. Or better yet, replace it with green tea, which has half the caffeine as coffee. Avoid dairy and artificial sweeteners, which can actually cause you to gain weight. But you can substitute almond or coconut milk and use a little stevia, which is a natural sweetener.
1 or 2 glasses of wine a week are okay, unless it is a trigger. But be careful. Alcohol lowers impulse control, makes you eat more, and it quickly turns to sugar. Plus, a glass of alcohol a day has been associated not only with a smaller brain,
Which is a very bad thing.
but also with breast cancer in women. Plus, many forms of alcohol, like beer and vodka, contain gluten.
Ah, there's that word gluten. The word gluten means glue and has been associated with gut problems, allergies, and autoimmune disorders like thyroid disease and fibromyalgia. And it can lower blood flow to the brain in people who are sensitive to it. Gluten was one of the main offenders in Tana's sister's story that we talked about earlier. There is 40% more gluten in our bread today than 50 years ago. And gluten is hidden in many other foods, such as salad dressings, sauces, and most processed foods, even cosmetics.
We've been beaten over the head that grains are good for us, but they are clearly not good for everyone. Many have a high glycemic index, meaning that they quickly turn to sugar and give all the problems associated with sugar, including increased inflammation.
As part of the Omni program, it is also critical to build your physical strength. But we want you to exercise smarter, not harder. Excessive exercise is just as bad as no exercise at all because it increases stress, can damage your genes, and raises the hormone cortisol, which can hurt your memory.
There are many great reasons to exercise, but calorie burning is actually the least important. Plus, exercise is not as simple as calories in versus calories out. Take a look at this chart. If my husband takes me to a popular restaurant to celebrate, and I order a classic cheeseburger and peanut butter cheesecake, I have to have sex with him for over 24 hours to burn those calories? How does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Well, now I know why you're always trying to get me to go to that restaurant.
Exercise boosts blood flow to the brain, slows aging, helps to disrupt the fat-making cycle, and has been found to treat depression. It only takes 30 to 45 minutes, 4 to 5 times a week.
But the most important part is that exercise turns on health-promoting genes. Omnivores can eat the perfect 70-30 balance, but then you need to up your game. Plus, the stronger you are as you age, the less likely you are to get Alzheimer's disease. Strong is the new thin. Weight training is essential, especially for women. It increases your metabolism and helps you burn fat. Start with light weights so you don't hurt yourself, but over time, keep pushing yourself to do more. In my experience as an RN, working in the ICU, I noticed that frailty was the #1 cause of death.
When you're ill or in the hospital, your energy demands go up 4 times, and it is protein your body uses as fuel to repair itself.
And muscle is your protein reserve. Studies show that the less muscle you have, the less chance you have of a full recovery.
When researchers from Tufts University taught elderly people in nursing homes how to do simple strength training exercises, they gained muscle, improved their mobility, became less frail, and had more independence, all within a few short weeks.
And here's the good thing. Muscles respond incredibly quickly to strength training at every age. Look at this image. That's 5 pounds of fat compared to 5 pounds of muscle. Which one do you want on your body? Most people begin to rapidly lose muscle during their 30s and 40s. Strength training just a couple days a week can stop and even reverse this muscle loss.
Alicia is living proof that a little exercise can go a long way. She had eaten her way through many of life's challenges, justifying her poor choices by calling them treats. Then she woke up one day and realized she was going from one treat moment to the next, and it was ruining her health. But what made Alicia feel really sad was that she was passing her terrible habits on to her children. They were beginning to show the effects of her unhealthy lifestyle. That's when she knew she needed to make changes, and she did it with the Omni diet.
Not only did Alicia find it easy to implement, but she and the rest of her family are exercising regularly. Alicia has lost more than 70 pounds. And her entire family is healthier and happier as a result. She told me, "I have had a very long-term committed relationship with sugar, but I am happy to say we have finally broken up. Now the biggest treat I can give myself and my family is to be healthy." Okay, Daniel, Let's give everyone practical tips on planting the Omni diet into their lives. The first one is replace, don't erase. Replace frozen grapes for popsicles.
I love these.
Replace coconut wraps for tortillas. Replace diet sodas with sparkling water and a squeeze of lemon and stevia.
Have small amounts of protein with each meal. Use it like medicine. Take it in small doses. Protein has the opposite effect on your body than sugar.
Use veggies for dipping instead of chips. Use shirataki noodles. This is one of my secret weapons. They're pure fiber, virtually calorie-free, and they help to balance blood sugar. But this is important. Get the soy-free noodles.
And here's one of the best things. Eating well does not have to be expensive.
Just ask my friend Gina. She spends just $85 a week to feed a family of 3. They eat according to the Omni diet principles without breaking the bank. She said she was surprised by how much money she saved when she stopped buying expensive processed foods. Gina looks for sales, buys in bulk, and looks online to get the best deals. Check to see if there's an organic community farm in your area or a co-op where you can get fresh, locally grown produce. In the program materials, I have a ton of resources for you.
Gina has lost more than 45 pounds. Going from a size 16 to a size 6, and says she would spend more if she had to because she rarely gets sick since starting the Omni diet.
Gina is thrilled with the transformation in her body, but her recent weight loss is actually the least of what makes her happy. It's true that her energy is better and she sleeps better. But what matters most to Gina is the relief from years of pain. Gina suffered from irritable bowel syndrome, rosacea, which is like a chronic sunburn, and painful eczema. Gina spent thousands of dollars on medical bills and medications over the years, which never seemed to help long term. 1 week after starting the Omni diet, all of her symptoms were gone. Her gut and her skin were better. How much is that worth? And I know most people spend a lot of extra money that they don't even think about on coffee, drinks, and muffins. It's a matter of priority.
I also love Patricia's story. She joined the Omni Health Revolution at the Amen Clinics with 2 of her sisters and was on a very tight budget. But she is a very creative woman.
Indeed. She's the gift shop manager at a local hotel. She discovered that she preferred some of the natural snacks like kale chips and flaxseed crackers. So she called the companies who made these foods to get samples. If she could carry them in her store, she could purchase them with her employee discount. It turned out to be a huge success. Many of the people who stayed at the hotel loved the healthy options. Patricia even created gluten-free gift baskets for the kids. The hotel made more money, and now they have an entire wall of the gift shop dedicated to healthy food.
Everyone wins when you adopt the Omni diet. Plus, many people use the excuse that good food is expensive, when being sick is really the most expensive option of all. As Patricia changed her mindset and helped herself, she also helped others.
I love that. So many people get wrapped up in the busyness of their lives that they forget the things that are most important. As an ICU nurse, when there was chaos everywhere, we were taught to focus on the ABCs: airway, breathing, and circulation. I use this same metaphor for my life. When people ask me how I live the principles of the Omni diet with how busy I am, I say I'm too busy not to do it. I can't afford to be sick any longer. I've had enough. Cancer does that to you.
Traveling is another major obstacle in most people's heads. But as you'll find out, it is often easy when you have the right mindset.
That was a major problem that one of my clients, Jason, had. He's an ex-Marine who came to us with ADD, brain trauma, and mental fog. Jason used to say it was impossible to live the Omni way because he traveled more than 200 days a year. But when I told him that was just an excuse and I gave him a detailed plan, the same one Daniel and I use on the road, he took the challenge and ran with it. The first thing he does is call ahead to make sure the hotel delivers a refrigerator to his room. He always drives straight from the airport to the nearest grocery store to stock up on Omni-approved foods before he goes to his hotel. He modifies his food orders in restaurants and was surprised at how accommodating most are. Jason lost 35 pounds in 6 weeks. He did this during the holiday season. He's now down 40 pounds. He says the entire experience has been easy and definitely fun. In Jason's words, my life is opening up in every area and my gratitude has never been so high.
None of this is hard. You have a big brain for a reason. When you use it and follow this plan, amazing things can happen. Plus, the Omni diet is perfect for your brain. When we come back, you're going to learn how to mimic calorie restriction. This program is not about deprivation. We have some very cool tricks. And the best part is we help you get healthy without ever feeling hungry. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. So far, we've given you the first 2 phases of the Omni diet: foods to choose and foods to lose, exercise, and many practical tips.
Now we're going to talk about mimicking calorie restriction without ever feeling hungry. I love that. And we're going to give you 5 strategies to reverse illness, reduce your medications, and optimize your genes. Remember, your genes are not your destiny.
First, I want to tell you one of my favorite stories that highlights many of the principles of nutrigenomics in the Omni diet. I call it Wild About Cookies. Remember earlier when I told my sister Tamara to eat like a gorilla? I meant wild gorillas. In the wild, it is unheard of for gorillas to die from chronic illnesses like diabetes or heart disease.
But for gorillas in zoos, believe it or not, heart disease is the #1 cause of death.
That's right. Several years ago, there were 2 gorillas at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo named Beback and Makolo. Although they were barely middle-aged, they were both overweight and dying of heart disease.
They also exhibited abnormal behaviors, such as throwing up and re-eating their food up to 4 times an hour, and also pulling out their hair and eating it. These behaviors are not seen in wild gorillas.
When Beback and Makolo developed heart disease and weight problems, their zoologists figured out the problem. Their diet was literally killing them. In the wild, gorillas eat leaves, stems, and a wide variety of fruits, nuts, and seeds, and protein-rich bugs.
The diet for many captive gorillas around the world is more like the standard American diet. Sad. They were commonly fed nutritional cookies made with grains, sugar, and starch.
Things changed for Beback and Makolo when the veterinarians replaced the cookies with a more natural diet of vegetables, fruits, leafy greens, bamboo, nuts, and seeds. To get the gorillas moving more, zookeepers scattered the food throughout their habitat so they would have to move around and hunt for their meals instead of quickly gobbling up the cookies.
That's sort of how most people eat, quickly and on the run.
The gorillas began to spend a large part of their day on the move and eating.
The results of the experiment were amazing. Although the wild diet, get this, was nearly double the calories of the processed cookies, the gorillas lost weight. In the first year, they lost about 65 pounds each. And tests showed improvement in heart function for Beback and a slowing of the progression of heart disease for Makolo. it's not just how many calories you eat, it is the kind of calories that make all the difference.
The gorillas also stopped their neurotic behaviors of throwing up and re-eating their food. Researchers believe they may have done this in order to keep tasting the sugar in the cookies again and again, which points to a wicked case of sugar addiction. They also stopped pulling out their hair. Go figure.
Thinking of the dramatic change in the gorillas, I can't help but consider many of the patients who come to the Amen clinics who suffer from similar behaviors like hair pulling or bulimia. Were the gorillas really crazy, or were they inadvertently being poisoned? By changing our patients' diet, they often see radical changes in their mood, mental abilities, and behavior. On the Omni diet, Will, a 6-year-old boy, completely lost his aggressive tendencies.
It's definitely food for thought. Bebek and Makola were grumpy for about a week after having the cookies taken away. But they got over it, and they got healthy. That's what we're asking you to do. Get over it and get healthy. As a natural byproduct, you'll be a lot happier.
It only takes about a week to get over your sugar addiction.
We can learn a lot from gorillas. Humans and gorillas share nearly identical DNA and similar digestive systems. A gorilla's wild diet is much healthier for people than the standard American diet, which is full of processed foods that contribute to obesity, heart disease, cancer, and diabetes.
Eating like a gorilla is simple. Don't worry. You don't have to spend hours a day searching for food or eating termites.
And you won't have to beat your chest unless it's just so fun you can't stand it. And here's another interesting fact. Gorillas do not eat grains. While grains have become the cornerstone of the American diet, eliminating them or just using some of them as a condiment will dramatically improve your health.
Now, the last phase of the Omni diet is to learn how to mimic calorie restriction. There is excellent research associating calorie restriction with health and longevity in many different animals. Calorie restriction boosts DNA repair, stabilizes blood sugar, slows aging, and decreases inflammation.
But here's the secret. What isn't widely known is that you can mimic calorie restriction and get these benefits with 5 simple interventions that form the basis of the Omni diet. Most people can't eat 800 calories a day for long without feeling seriously crabby. And there are long-term side effects to calorie restriction. It lowers your testosterone, ruins your sex drive, and makes you irritable.
So there's really no good reason for you to live longer.
What am I going to do with you?
Anything you want. Where were we? Oh yeah, calorie restriction. You mimic calorie restriction by using 5 simple strategies, including exercise, which we talked about, targeted supplements, the Omni diet, plus managing sleep and stress.
For most people, we recommend 5 supplements, including a full-strength multiple vitamin mineral complex, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, magnesium, and a probiotic. We also recommend that everyone take supplements that match their own personal health profile. A detailed questionnaire is found in the program materials.
Of course, supplements cannot replace a healthy diet, but they can pick up where food leaves off, giving our body the extra firepower it needs to fight disease, toxins, and inflammation.
In a study from England, people who took multiple vitamins every day had lower stress levels and a lower risk of cancer.
The omega-3s for your brain and heart are best obtained not through plant sources like flax seeds, but rather through fish or fish oil supplements. This is one of the most important reasons vegetarian diets alone are often not enough.
That was the case for one of my clients, Chris. She suffered with headaches, insomnia, anxiety, and scaly bumps on the backs of her arms. I recognized these bumps as a possible sign of omega-3 fatty acid deficiency. On fish oil, she felt less anxious, slept better, had fewer headaches, and the bumps on her arms disappeared.
Magnesium is also critical for your health. It is involved in over 300 chemical reactions in the body, but up to 80% of the population is low in it. Low levels of magnesium are associated with fatigue, which is so common, migraines, anxiety, restless leg syndrome, heart arrhythmias, mood changes, and PMS. A lousy diet can cause it, as can certain medications, such as birth control pills, blood pressure medications, and statins.
We often use magnesium to help calm anxiety, help with sleep, and reduce cravings. We recommend at least 300 milligrams a day.
And don't forget about probiotics. They are so important. Your gut is filled with good bugs and bad ones. Probiotics help maintain a healthy balance.
We're not exaggerating when we tell you that some of the people we've worked with believe that probiotics put an end to literally years of chronic diarrhea and the poor sleep that comes with it, and improving irritable bowel symptoms, energy, and immunity. This woman's name is Laura, and probiotics literally changed her life. Her stomach felt smaller, she no longer had hot flashes, and her chronic stomach issues cleared up. She also lost 45 pounds on the Omni diet. But the coolest thing was that she took this information and made a massive transformation in her own family and professional organization, completely changing the way they thought about food.
Getting control of sleep and stress are other important components of the Omni diet. In one study, poor sleep turned off 700 health-promoting genes. Plus, stress releases hormones that can damage your body. Most of our clients say they start sleeping better nearly immediately after starting the Omni diet. In the program materials, there are tools to help you deal with both stress and sleep. Another important concept of the Omni diet is your attitude toward failure. In fact, on the Omni diet, you cannot fail because it's not something you do for 2 weeks. You do it for a lifetime. If you make a mistake, you just make a U-turn.
How many of you have GPS devices on your phones or in your cars? When you make a mistake, the GPS doesn't call you a stupid idiot. It just says, make the next legal U-turn.
If you pay attention to the mistakes, such as when you went too long between meals, didn't sleep, or failed to plan, they can be your best teacher. In my office, I often draw this diagram for my patients. When they first come to see me, they have good days and bad ones, but generally they're not doing very well. Then, when we give them a plan, like the Omni diet, we see significant improvement. I've seen this work over and over again. But no one just gets better. They get better, have a slip-up, get better, have a setback, and it is in those dips, if you pay attention to them and learn from your mistakes, you'll make the most progress. Very soon, you find yourself in a new place where you have dramatically improved both your brain and your body.
I want you all to pay attention to a very important part of the classes I teach at the Amen Clinics. It's called a half dozen ways that donuts can change your life. It started with Tammy, who had diabetes and was addicted to donuts when she first started the class. During the first phase, she admitted that she was struggling with the idea of giving up her donuts. I explained to Tammy that donuts were sabotaging her health. The combination of fat, sugar, and gluten is not the breakfast of champions. It's the breakfast of chronic disease.
Starting your day with donuts or cereal, pancakes, waffles, or muffins spike insulin levels and cause brain fog and trigger an explosion of inflammation in your body. It also throws your hormones completely out of whack, leading to cravings you will battle for the rest of your day. This is very serious. High blood sugar levels damage blood vessels and have been associated with strokes and Alzheimer's disease.
Because I sensed that Tammy needed a more emotional push where the donuts were concerned, the following week I had this slideshow ready for her and the rest of the class. If you have a weak stomach, you might want to turn your head. But this is the truth as an ICU nurse sees it. Chronically high blood sugar leads to type 2 diabetes. High blood sugar can also lead to skin ulcerations, neuropathy, which is pain, tingling, and numbness in the extremities, and eventually amputation. Diabetes can lead to blindness. Alzheimer's disease is now referred to as type 3 diabetes. It is significantly increased by obesity. This is a brain SPECT scan of someone with Alzheimer's disease compared to a healthy brain. You don't want this. Sugar and trans fats found in donuts lead to strokes and heart damage. Plus, sugar feeds cancer. High insulin levels are associated with many forms of cancer. And sugar causes rapid aging of vital organs and your skin. As you can see, this 39-year-old woman has eaten a lot of sugar. The slideshow horrified Tammy.
No one had ever explained to her in such graphic detail what the sugar-laden donuts were doing to her body. Just hearing that she needed to get her blood sugar under control had no emotional impact on her. The pictures mattered.
2 weeks later, Tammy reported that she hadn't eaten a single donut since she watched the slideshow, and she didn't think she'd ever be able to look at food the same way. She beamed as she told me that since being diagnosed with diabetes 6 years ago, her blood sugar was usually between 150 to 160, but that for over a week, her blood sugar had been averaging between 89 and 95. That was a huge drop into the normal range.
And it happened quickly. Nobody had ever connected the dots for Tammy, so she had no idea the damage she had been doing. There was a day several weeks after her initial revelation where Tammy did have a significant relapse and rendezvoused with a couple of eclairs.
She was extremely disappointed, and the first words out of her mouth were, "I failed." I helped Tammy turn these feelings into a powerful learning experience. I reminded her that it's impossible to fail with the Omni diet. It's a plan to get control of your life forever. And it's all right to start over, repeatedly if necessary, until these new habits take root.
Failure can be a wonderful motivator once you learn to have the right attitude toward it. So much of getting well is making the decision to change and then having a clear plan to deal with setbacks and failures. You have to make this very personal.
I mentioned my grandma in the beginning of the program and how she made all of this very personal to me, especially the issue of diabetes. It robbed me of one of the most important people in my life. One of my earliest memories was cuddling against her large, soft belly, which felt so comforting when I was afraid. Everything on her 4'11", 200-pound body was soft and round. I found it endearing until I realized the fat was killing her. I used to love the warm Syrian bread, smothered in butter and dripping with honey, the baklava and the candies that she always seemed to have, until I realized it was taking her away from me.
Everyone who does something amazing has a passion story. And I know your grandmother influenced your decision to become a nurse and to help others.
By the time I was 12 years old, my grandmother was not only legally blind, but she suffered from neuropathy in her hands and feet. She spent her days staring at a television in her bedroom that she could barely see. She would have had to have her toes amputated, but she died of heart disease first. In the end, she couldn't even go to the bathroom by herself. She used a bedside commode and needed help bathing, which was very humiliating for a modest woman. Although my grandmother lived until she was 84, the last 30 years were filled with pain and suffering. Remember, lifespan is not the same as health span.
It's too late for Tana's grandmother, but unless you are lying in the ICU on life support, it's not too late for you. But you have to become a warrior for your health.
When I was first diagnosed with cancer, I was so overwhelmed and I felt like a victim. But I come from a family of fighters, and I decided to win the fight of my life, literally. I got some of that from my Uncle Bill, who lost his leg in a motorcycle accident when he was 17. But he refused to be a victim and became a 9th-degree black belt and was inducted into the Karate Hall of Fame. He's one of my heroes.
Even our 9-year-old daughter, Chloe, has a warrior mentality.
When she was just 7, we took her on a strenuous hike, and at the end, even though she was huffing and puffing, she never complained. I put my arm around her and said, "Chloe, you're a tough cookie." Immediately, Chloe looked up at me with an attitude, put her hands on her hips and said, "I don't want to be a tough cookie. I want to be a tough red bell pepper." I want you to be like Chloe and be a tough red bell pepper too. None of this is hard. It's just a paradigm shift. Remember, it just takes 2 weeks to get started. Your history is not your destiny. You are not your genes. Your behavior changes the expression of your genes to help make you healthy or sick. If a child can do it, you can too. It just takes the right mindset and the right program. Do you want to leave a legacy of health or a legacy of illness? Do you want to be like my sister Tamra, who got her health back without medication? Do you want to be like Alicia, who not only radically changed her own body, but the health of her children and her husband? Do you want to be like Gina, who went from a size 16 to a size 6 and lost her irritable bowel syndrome, eczema, and rosacea? Do you want to be like Patricia, who not only transformed her health, but also her place of work? Do you want to be like Jason, who gave himself the gift of better decisions and a better body? Do you want to be like Laura, who not only lost 45 pounds and her hot flashes and her chronic stomach issues, but she has become a warrior for her health and the health of those she loves? Will you join us? I can't hear you. Let's start a revolution. The Omni Health Revolution. I'm Tana Amon.
I'm Dr. Daniel Amen.
May God bless you.